Hello, this time we're doing something a little different. So I'm asking the question, should I become a mechanic? Spoiler alert, I already am a mechanic, but I'm asking the question, should you become a mechanic? As we're coming into a new year, is it a trade that you want to get involved with? I suppose now if you're leaving school it won't be to the summertime, so it gives you a bit of time to think about it. If you're already in another trade, is it a time to move to this trade? I have a pretty good idea what a lot of people's thoughts will be who are already in the trade, but I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it. So a bit of background on me. My name's Alfie. I left school at 16 and joined an apprenticeship. So I was working for a Renault dealership close to where I live. You basically did 3 years of apprenticeship. 8 single weeks in the year. I went away to Scotland and did training there at the training centre, and then I worked during the week at a Renault dealership. So I found the experience very difficult. Technically, I found it difficult myself, not really having a background working with cars, no family that worked in cars. So my confidence took a big hit, and I found it very difficult at that time. But anyway, I stuck at it, got my qualification, and then I got an opportunity to work for my uncle in the family business, just doing tires and stuff like that. So worked there a year and a half, and then decided, oh, I'm gonna start my own tire business because I was ambitious. I was young. I was 20. So I found a place that was far enough away from family that it wasn't trampling on their toes. Started my own tire business, and then it went well for a few years. It paid the bills, but I wasn't really saving any money. So I ended up getting a job in a bus building factory. And ironically, they says, what can you do? As well, I'm qualified as a mechanic, so started building engines there. Now it was more building ancillaries and stuff like that. But basically that helped get me curious again and helped build my confidence. And then I went on a journey back into the trade part-time, doing some work myself, doing a lot of studying online. And then 2019 I started back in full-time. Started with Royal Mail Fleet, worked there, and then went to Land Rover dealership, and then COVID hit, and then they were doing redundancy, so I've ended up working for Vauxhall. I'm now a Vauxhall diagnostic technician, and I'm currently on the Vauxhall Stellantis Master Technician program. So hopefully by the end of this year I should be a Stellantis Vauxhall Master Technician. So because I had about 11 years outside of the trade full time, I think the way I look at it is different than someone who has stayed in it from 16. So I'm not as wearied to some of the things. And I probably because I wasn't sure if I could really do some of the stuff early on, and now I know that I can. There's a more of an excitement and a thankfulness that I get to do it. I think a lot of that gets beat out of a few people. But to sort of try and get back to the point of should you become a mechanic, I want to list some pros and some cons. I'm going to start with some of the pros. The pros are that in the last 3 years, I've seen the basic salary of a mechanic in Northern Ireland go up by an average of about 10 to 12,000 pounds. Which is a massive jump, and that's basically because you just can't get anybody to do the job. There's more people leaving the industry than's coming in, and that's obviously not a good sign. But as things progress, I think the employers are actually realizing, oh flip, we can't get anybody else. There was a time when you could just go and get someone else in, and you can't do that now. So what we're finding now is that all the dealerships and all the garages around the country are looking for mechanics, and a mechanic is basically can name his price almost if he knows what he's doing. If you have an idea of what you're doing, if you have a bit of experience, you can sort of name your price. Even if you don't have experience, There's options that were never there before. In the past, it was rare for a car mechanic to actually move over to heavy vehicle, but now they're actually advertising for car mechanics and they're making ways to get them qualified as heavy vehicle technicians. So there's a whole industry opened up now that wasn't there before. Um, so pay is still behind the other trades. It's still not what it should be. I'll touch on that in a minute or two. But opportunities wise, there's endless work. There's endless job opportunities out there. Also, cars are so diverse. There's so many systems on them. Basically, you've got plumbing systems, you've the mechanical systems, you've got the electric systems, electric vehicles, hydrogen's on its way, automatic gearboxes, manual gearboxes. All the You've still got the traditional engine work, but you have direct injection, indirect injection, diesels, petrols. You've got hybrids, which have the worst of the electric and the worst of the internal combustion engine all put together. So it's even though at the minute I'm working on one brand, it's never tired. Like it's never boring. There's always something new. There's always something more to learn, and that I find is interesting. From my point of view, I enjoy working in a dealership because you've enough familiarity while still having different faults happening. So you learn so many different skills that can apply to even just doing stuff around the house. Like it's very rare I have to get somebody in to fix something around the house. Maybe major building work and stuff I'm not so good at, but anything electrical, usually I can fix it myself because voltage is the same and electrons are the same in cars as they are in houses. You just have to learn some small differences. The same with plumbing. We do that in mechanicing, so you can do that yourself. It helps you save a lot of money in DIY. So that's another pro that comes with it. Some of the cons are that it's a mostly a manual, heavy labor intensive job. You're usually working in a cold, wet, damp environment. Usually, when you're working on a car, you're not always able to use correct form whenever you're loosening bolts and tightening stuff and lifting gearboxes in and out. It's very sore on the body, and you have to be careful, especially when you're young, to actually use the equipment that should be there, but it's probably not. And when it comes to tools, so if you're a joiner, you basically have a saw and a wee other tools. As a mechanic, you have thousands of pounds worth of tools. The toolbox itself can cost thousands of pounds depending on what you buy. And then to fill it with tools, you can spend anything from 10,000 to 30,000. And you're constantly buying tools, and especially if you're in an independent garage, you will never stop buying tools. Even in a dealership, you'll buy tools less frequently, but you will never stop buying tools. And when you start as an apprentice, I think that my apprentice started last year and he was on around £5 an hour, £5 something an hour. Like whenever I started almost 20 years ago, it was £4 something an hour I started at. So the wages, are ridiculous to start off as a first year apprentice. It does increase a little bit in the second year, but it's just, whenever you're trying to fuel a car to get to work and then you're having to buy tools to actually do your work. Thankfully at that age you're probably living at home, but it takes a lot, and the amount of stuff that you have to learn and try and understand all those systems, electrical systems, plumbing systems, engines, all the stuff I named before, to try and understand that stuff and learn that. Nowadays the electronic side is so technical that you really need to have the ability of an engineer, like an electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, and the guys who are smart enough and able to do that, those guys are going into engineering because they're able to demand twice the price or twice the wage. So that is another reason that people are not getting into the industry. So to sort of bring this all to a conclusion and to try and answer the question, should you become a mechanic? My opinion is this industry is fantastic. It can bring so many opportunities. And this is a career that will take you right through from now, if you're leaving school, until you retire, and beyond that. There will always be work. There's a complete and utter career to be had in this industry. If that's something you want to do when you're leaving school. For the guys who work at cars at the weekend warriors, working at project cars as a hobby, doing a few Hummers, and you work at something else during the week that you don't love, um, to take the step to go into mechanicing full time, there are definitely opportunities to do that, but just be aware that the enjoyment that you have working on a car with no pressure on a Saturday, with no service manager or service advisor or workshop controller getting at you, um, it's going to be a completely different experience to go from working at the weekend to working full time. No matter what you do, no matter how much you love it, it will always be a job. Your Monday to Friday is always going to be a job. And so I would just say, just have a long, hard think before you decide to quit your job and turn your passion or your love for cars into your 9 to 5, because it's different. It's you have to look at things differently. So I'd advise maybe working somewhere, if it's possible, trying to get working somewhere a day a week for a few months to try and understand, do you really want to do this, and sort of take step by step towards that. For me, I absolutely love working on cars. I still love my job. I still love going in and problem solving and doing diagnostics. If you're the type of person that loves electrical stuff, the industry is in a great place for you. If you just like traditional mechanicing, there's still a place for you, definitely, and there always will be a place for guys to replace parts and take stuff off and rebuild stuff. But that side of it is becoming less and less, and just be aware that the technical side and the computer side of things is increasing more and more. So that is another reason why some people are leaving, and another reason why I think there'll be rules in the future where there's guys who literally don't do any mechanical work or any replacement of parts. They just literally do diagnostics and nothing else. And we do have people doing that already in some parts of the industry. So I just want to finish off with thinking, if there's anybody out there who's still watching this video, thanks very much, for having pity on me. Um, and yeah, if you would just hit like or subscribe right now, and yeah, we'll try and do some more videos. Thank you very much, and God bless. Happy New Year.